heard what they say about Dumi? They say she's perfect. Just look at her. Career? Check. Money? Check. Style? Check. Feared? Check. She's the ultimate alpha woman, aka the boss babe. Everyone wants to be like her. What more could a woman ask for? Find out what happens on the other side of all that perfection. This Friday at 3 p.m. We are women. We are brave, strong, capable, unique. We are women to women.
Good afternoon, South Africa. Happy Women's Month. And today, we want to celebrate women by exploring another topic that is very trendy lately. As a matter of fact, you're going to learn it actually didn't start in recent years. It's a culture that is been coming over time. And today, we are going to take the afternoon to reflect about what we learned as alpha female, which today has the name of baby boss or boss baby, and girl boss.
Yes, boss babe, girl boss, boss girl, all of those.
Okay, maybe you never heard about this topic, but you surely know someone like this. In general, it refers to a very strong woman who actually aims to lead. She aims to create a difference in society, not realizing that sometimes it comes with high cost. When we watch today's series, movies, Hollywood, documentaries, even news on TV, we see very clearly how people are boosting the idea of female leadership, female power, female influence. And to a certain extent, don't look at us and think that we oppose to that. We don't. But from now, we are going to tell you, our aim today is to show there is the right and the wrong way, as always. So when we watch these movies, somehow influences come in a way that our young girls and mature women, mostly who are struggling, who are single mothers, who are trying to get a space under the sun, they are promoting this. And they are influenced to believe that the beauty, the power, the authority, the excitement, the success that is displayed in that series, in that movie, will actually happen in real life. And truth has proven otherwise. So we're not here criticizing, but we are here with the aim to look into both sides of the story, to make our own conclusion so that you can also have your own conclusion. So we are going to learn a little bit more about the origin of this story of alpha female.
The boss babe, alpha woman, girl boss. She holds many titles and is expected to excel in many more ways. But where was the starting point? Where did it all begin? A literature review revealed that the reference to the terms alpha male and alpha female were used to describe top-ranking individuals in human society. This began as early as the 1930s. The term has been metaphorically applied to socially dominant men since the 1970s and similarly to their female counterparts since at least the 1990s. Lately it is trending as boss babe or girl boss. But okay, titles aside, who exactly is this boss babe? She is an empowered woman who empowers women. For a boss babe, the future is intersectional feminism, believing that there should be gender equality in every aspect of a woman's life and not limited to some areas. She stands for the belief that power should be in the hands of women. And that is the Boss Babe.
To start with, we are going to look into 4 basic characteristics that we have spoken about in so many shows that God has equipped us with so that we could perform our role as women in our society, in our house, in our community accordingly. But I am afraid that these values, these characteristics have been compromised to a certain extent by alpha females.
One of the qualities that most alpha females have a problem with is how they lose their identity. And I'm sure that when you're looking at the characteristics of this alpha female, you know, she's strong, she's achieving. Those are naturally characteristics that we associate with men. But now with, you know, development of women and all the good things that happen in the world, the women have now taken that role. But now it works to their detriment, where we see how women are now becoming so masculine that they are, I would say, masculine females. They are becoming men. They take on the characteristics fully of a man. And even in the way that their values are compromised because of that, their belief systems are compromised because of that, even the way that they behave then becomes compromised. And that is how a person ends up losing their identity. As an example, we know that, you know, it's not something that has been positive, but, you know, men would in the past be known to maybe have multiple partners. It wasn't anything that anyone encouraged or supported, but it would happen. With the rise of the alpha female, you see on social networks where women are proudly speaking about their conquests, you know, how many people they have been intimate with. They speak about body counts, intimate, you know, confidently on online, as if it's something positive. However, the difference between a man and a woman, and this is something that I remember my brother teaching me when I was very young, saying, you know, a young man could be naughty and do all of these things in life, but later on, he will be able to marry a woman who had been respecting herself and, you know, have a beautiful family. But the other way doesn't happen. A woman who is known to have been, you know, all over the streets doing things that are not, you know, looked at in a positive way for a woman, when they get older, it's a different story, because everybody's like, no, everybody has been there. I don't want to be there. So even though the alpha female will say, oh, no, it's equality, you know, I can do whatever a man can do. In reality, it doesn't always work that way. And we can blame society as much as we want, because, you know, many feminists will say, oh, it's a patriarchal society that is wrong. That's just how men have a preference, and they can choose that they don't want to be with a woman who has been behaving like a man, you know, as they say online in the streets. Another thing where it comes to behavior is even how women, how they deal with things and how they behave. Because of this masculinity that many alpha females have taken on, they even behave in a manner that is like a man, and it can be off-putting because a man doesn't want another man. You know, they lose their. A woman is a woman because she is, I'm going to say softer for a lack of a better word. She is feminine. She is softer. The way that she does things is different from the way...
She's gracious.
She's gracious. The way that a man does things is different to how a woman does it. She has an eye for decoration, for colors. Most men, you can't tell them about the difference between, you know, lilac, purple, mauve. It's purple to them. Why are you differentiating?
No, they don't even know the name of one of these colors.
So women today are losing that identity, which is naturally ours, that femininity, those positive things that only we can do. Why? Because we have taken this equality to another level where we're not saying, oh yes, I have an opportunity, I want to have an opportunity to be an engineer, to be a doctor, to be whatever I want to be as a woman. Now I am a man doctor. I am a man engineer when I'm in that role. I don't do it in a feminine manner. And it almost comes across these days as if when you want to be feminine, it's like a swear word. People think there's something wrong with you.
You are weak.
You are weak, you know, you've been brainwashed, you know, you want to be a doormat, you want to be controlled, all of these negative things. And that's not what it is, because God didn't create us to be weak and doormats and controlled. God created us knowing that we should complement the men in our lives, there are things that they will do that I will never be able to do. And that's okay, because there are many other things that women do well and a man will never do. He will never be able to do, no matter how much he tries. So I think that the phase of the alpha female has really made women lose their identity. And they think it's a good thing because they have the money, they have the careers, they have all of that. But we will be seeing how they are also losing out on things that are important to them as women. Because even if no matter how much I can behave like a man, no matter how much money I can have, a CEO position or whatever position I can have, I will never be a man. There are still things as a woman that are natural to me. And, as time goes on, that natural inkling starts to come up that I need to do those things. And then they don't happen. And I don't know whether we're still going to be blaming the patriarchal society, or at some point, if someone is seeing that they have lost their identity, maybe it's a time for you to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go that far. So don't lose your identity if you see one of the alpha female characteristics.
Did you want to become an alpha female?
With me, it's a little different, and I know my friends disagree. I did not want to be an alpha female. However, I have come to realize that with education, especially formal education, many formally educated women who have been to university and they have, especially if you have an undergrad and a postgraduate qualification, university teaches you how to think. They don't just teach you the subjects in terms of which career you're going to go into, but they also teach you how to think. And one of the things that comes out of higher education is teaching women that, the role of a mother, of a housewife, there is so much more to that. But not just that, not that there's more to it, but also that you shouldn't aspire to that. It's almost as if it should be looked down upon. So women who are formally educated, a lot of them, unless, there is a different influence, you come out of university believing that because you can achieve these things in terms of career and finances, you tend to overlook the other aspects which are also very important to a woman. So I was influenced, and I've spoken about it on the show, that I realized that even though even though my mom was a single mother and, she was an alpha female, but her teachings to me, as much as she would say, have your own money, that you don't depend on someone, but they were also very traditional, that you need to get married, you need to have a family. So it was a clash of some sort, because she would teach the traditional values, but then at the same time she will say, but you need to be successful, so you are not stuck in a relationship with someone, or when they leave you, you don't know what to do. So yeah, I would say varsity gave me that influence. Information around me gave me that influence. Growing up as a millennial, getting that formal education, that also really gave that influence. And I'm grateful to God, because I didn't notice it until God pointed it out to say, even though you are in my presence, that influence is still there. And I think if that had not happened, I would have just thought that, oh no, maybe I'm just ambitious, maybe I like to do things. But that influence definitely was there, and I'm glad that I was able to catch it.
And I'm afraid that somehow every channel in the society, we spoke about the influence in varsity, but we have larger influence through social media, through influencers, through behaviors or life coaches. They prepare women under the statement of competing fairly in a society. But as a matter of fact, women today are looking for superiority and not equality anymore.
Yeah, so people are afraid of the boss baby we have around. And I remember when I would work before marriage outside, when the supervisor was a lady, everyone sometimes they would change, they would promote new people. And when we would hear the supervisor is coming, really, who is the one? It's the lady so. A lady, everyone would panic. The men, the girls, everyone would panic. Because in fact, the boss baby, they have few people in their social network. So they hold a position that they want to prove a point that they don't really have. And they bully people and they try to catch, like as women, we a lot of details. So they would emphasize in details, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, and you didn't do this properly, and you would be confused because until yesterday, when was a male supervisor, everything was fine. And today, because this lady came, everything is wrong, and they start to bully. And when they have another lady next to them, they feel afraid she wants to take my place. Normally, the boss baby, they want to hold that position so strong that they push everyone away. And those boss baby can be even inside the house sometimes, when family also do not come close, because she brings that position at work to inside the house as well. So I would be like confused. And I would always tell myself, if once we have this opportunity, I don't want to be so fearful, because people would be afraid. Everyone would run to their places and we would not do anything wrong. But when we would hear that lady would come, then it was like a disaster, because she would find mistakes everywhere and she wanted to prove a point. She most of the time, she would even humiliate others, especially if it was another lady. So it was that pleasure. You didn't do anything wrong, but you were there pointing like a little dot just to prove a point.
A small detail.
Yeah, I'm superior than you. You need to respect me. And they would not be admired. I think the boss babies, they want to be admired some way, somehow inside. But in fact, you are just afraid. You don't admire that person. You want really to run away.
I have the impression that some of these women, they actually wanted to be feared, not really respected. They wanted to impose themselves so much. And as Sumara was saying, another characteristic that she spoke about is to be a caregiver, to empathize, to think about the well-being of those around. And when this alpha female comes to the scene, everyone is afraid. And how many times I heard women saying, but I'm a woman like you. So you cannot come and tell your stories because I know how our body works. I'm a woman like you.
And nothing is enough for them. When you have a supervisor like this, you do a lot and it's not enough. Because in fact, I think that alpha woman, she doesn't want anyone to come closer to her. So she makes sure she will put you down so that you are afraid and she will never lose her position, in fact.
Were you afraid of your supervisor?
I was. And it's so funny because in the subject that we are exploring today, it just came to my memories how peaceful and how we would work with pleasure when was a male supervisor. I'm sorry for the ladies who are alpha women out there. We don't want to say that you can't be a supervisor, but it was just more peaceful.
No, again we say, today we are discussing the right and the wrong way. You can, but there is a twist in this. Let me just bring something out of curiosity. I've researched, and the Workplace Bullying Institute has come to the conclusion through their researches that 8% of work staff in a company, in an office, are terribly afraid of women, because 8% of the women in senior positions, they somehow play this intimidating role to women and men alike.
There's something that I found out when Samara was speaking. It reminded me of someone who said, when a lion is in the jungle, it doesn't get there and scream, I'm a lion, I have arrived. All the animals know who the king of the jungle is. And that's the problem with the alpha female, that when she's in a position, it's like everyone needs to know that I am in charge. Like, you can't come close. You can't, question me. Because the truth is that deep down inside, she doesn't trust herself. And maybe something is wrong. That's why she needs to exert that power outwardly so that everyone can know that that particular person is the one who's a supervisor, is the one who's in a position.
She's the boss.
She's the boss. Because if a lion, I found this so interesting, like a lion will never announce. Everyone knows that that's the king of the jungle. So when you're in a position of authority, and even with a man, the male supervisors who were there, they did their job. They took care of their subordinates. They did what they needed to do. They didn't have to oppress the people working under them in order for it to be known that that particular person is the supervisor. So, maybe there's something deeper. That's why women feel the need, or alpha females would feel the need to exert that power that they have.
And they might say that it's because we live in a patriarch society, so we learn to respect men. But chance was given to us. That's the fact. And we need to reflect today on how we are using our chances. Because I don't think that we respect men just for the sake they are men. We would fear them. We would look down at those who would go out of their place, who would not empathize, who would not lead a teamwork. So now, having women, we having the opportunity to do things differently. But why, as Silmara said, she feared that supervisor. So she didn't fear the fact that it was a male or a female. She feared that particular person who was displaying characteristics of someone who was self-centered, who was picky, who would not empathize, who would not understand men and women alike. So sometimes it's easy to blame. This is a patriarchal society. But for me, South Africa is very matriarchal. Because when we look around, the number of single mothers, of strong women who made it through, are more than the traditional family structure. That's one of the things we battle here. So we have our opportunity. Are we using that opportunity wisely? There is another value. There is another characteristic that God has given to us women that we also compromising.
Yes, alpha women may be compromising their families or the family structure as we know it and as it was intended to be. So the problem with a lot of alpha females is that they need to have alpha males in their lives as boyfriends, as partners, or as husbands. The problem, however, is that if there is an alpha female, automatically there is a beta man. So he is automatically underneath the alpha female, because in the olden days it used to be alpha male and beta female, but now with the roles reversed, one has to choose. There can't be two heads on a body. One has to be the head and one has to be the neck. So now the problem is who is who in this structure, in this family structure. So with alpha females, obviously they want to be the ones that are calling the shots. They want to be the one that is controlling everything. So obviously the man is taking the position below. However, the thing is, a lot of them will they find it really hard to find a partner, to find a husband, because alpha males do not want to be involved or married to an alpha female. And that's the thing. You see it even on YouTube, on social media. They will always have videos like how to date an alpha woman. It's like now they are giving steps on how to deal with these women because they are very hard to deal with. And it compromises the family structure because that's not how things were intended to be. They want the same position as men. They want, and that another thing is that many alpha women do not want beta males. That's the thing. They don't want a man who is weaker. They say they don't want a man who's weak. They don't want a man who does not make decisions. But the problem is she's already making decisions. She's already doing everything in the house and she's already calling the shots. So where is the space for the men to be the men? So they are becoming the men that they want to be, and when they find the men that they think they want, the men can't be the men. So now they're like, you know what, I'm breaking up with you, I'm leaving you. It's very complicated that there are really steps on how to be married and how to stay married or how to be in a relationship with an alpha female. And a lot of them are very unhappy. If you could hear them talk, they'll always say this: in relationships, I can't find a man who completes me. All the men are threatened by my success. They are threatened by me. So how do I become happy? They are very unhappy only because they don't want to step down and say, you know what? As the man, as the head of the house, you can make the decisions and I will submit. As we Dumelo was speaking about it, like submission now is a word that should never even exist according to them. It's like it should be scratched out of the dictionary, because submission to them means that
Slavery.
you are a slave, you are weak. However, for me, I feel like only strong women can submit because they know their power, they know their abilities, and they choose to submit. It's a choice that they make. So only strong women can do that. So with the rise of alpha females, they may be compromising the family structure as it is. Even with their kids, they bully people at work, they will bully their kids, like, toughen up, As a girl, you have to fight at school. You have to be tough. Don't come here crying to me and because some guy, some boy at school bullied you. Toughen up. If they beat you, beat them back. So it's a mess now. We see just a whole confusion when it comes to family structures with alpha women in those families.
Not mentioning those who have prioritized their career, their money, and now they find themselves at the age of 42. And they look back, they don't have kids. And now they think also the kids will fulfill the void they have. And being a child of someone who decided that she needed to do something more honorable of her life, and having a kid, and the kid would fulfill the void she had inside. That's the reason why my mother had me, only to realize after the void went deeper, because now she was dealing with a void not being quenched, and she had to deal with a child. Not knowing what to do, she asked my grandmother to step in and take care of myself. But anyway, they come at the age of 42, 43, the biological clock's ticking, and they want to have a child. They don't have a husband. They don't have an important person in their life whom they can commit with, but they still want a child. They have already frozen their eggs for this occasion, and now they are looking for a sperm donor to have that child. Not understanding that what brings joy is not necessarily to have a husband, to have a child, but is to have family. In family, we don't conquer scientifically only. It's a lot of spiritual and emotional work. That's why we are saying that one of the characteristics that God has given us, family structure, God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, husband, wife, children, are not there. So having a child will not fulfill this alpha female. It's another characteristic.
And boss babies and alpha females tend to be very stressed because remember, in order for you to be feared, you have to put up a certain image, appearance, actions. And most of them, what adds on to their stress and their unhappiness is when they see a woman that's doing the opposite. So she becomes upset when she sees one that is enjoying her life. She's married, she has her kids. That is a threat for her because she knows that deep down, and something that you touched on, that there's something in her that was created by God for her to be nurturing, to be loving and caring. And in that moment when she's mean and she's rude and she's harsh, there are many times that you'll hear men even saying that are in their lives that I've never seen you cry. But she does cry. It's not that she does not cry. She does cry. But she never wants anybody to spot her weakness. They engage in numerous things. Like when you think of the schedule of a boss baby, she has a schedule already for 2025. In 2025, I'm going there for my vacation. I have to have a house. I have to have Even with their weddings, when the guy comes in, it's almost like the man is walking into her plans. So he's told, this is what you're going to wear. This is where we're going to get married. This is how the house is going to be run and stuff.
And alpha men will never do
Yes,
that.
and alpha men, and even shame those that are not even alphas, they are scared of it. It's like, what is happening? It's almost like a military camp. Like there's someone that's there telling you what time to wake up, what to do. And they find themselves engaging in courses. No, I want to be a postgrad. I want to have this qualification. And they like in any conversation, they throw their achievements because people have to fear them. In a normal conversation, then she will come, I have 5 degrees. And people will be like, we weren't talking of that. And even them having kids, she's not really having that baby because she wants to have a baby. There's a part of her that feels like she's failing in that area. So she needs to get a baby. And that's why we see them getting stressed, because I'm thinking, if at the age of 30, I'm already freezing my eggs, I am actually purposely planning to be running my life in a manner and in a way where I will not have time to be socializing with anyone that's going to be my husband. And now when I'm 42 or 45, I want to have a baby. We see most of them when they have that infant, because she's been running the course of her life in this schedule of being feared and being the boss. She wants to boss that baby around, and the babies are not. I saw something that someone said, nothing will humble you as a boss woman like your child, because they don't look at you that way. They see mom. So often they become depressed and they end up letting someone else raise that child. And funny enough, the person that raises the child is not another alpha female. They will look for a woman that is maternal, that is loving, that is caring, that is passionate. And they end up also, because she's a boss, remember, she needs to be feared, then she gets threatened by the person taking care of the baby. And then what is she going to do? She's going to rip that baby away from that person and say, this is how we're going to live. This is how we're going to do things. They engage in things like vacations. Vacations, even when you ask the people in their circle, as Silmara said, they have few people in their circles. Many of them don't even have other females in their circles, because they will say, no, I have to be the best dressed. I have to come out the one on top. So I'd rather have males around me rather than other female, because women are very competitive, but no one is competitive.
That's the point. We cannot forget that as women, unless we have a change in understanding, we are very competitive.
And she will often say, no, other women are competitive. They want to
And
compete.
that is stressful.
And it's stressful for her. She can't deal with other women. So on a vacation, when she goes with other people, she wants to be like the boss of the itinerary. Like, this is what we're eating. This is what we're doing. On this day, we wake up at this time. And people will often ask, are we not on vacation? Like, what is the problem? Like, what is the issue? Can't I sleep in? No, at 12 o'clock, we're skating. At 12:30, we're eating brunch and all of that. And so even when people are not hungry, they have to shop because Boss Baby has paid for the trip, and she will let everybody know that she paid for it. So they are often stressed, and that stress even leads them to having a lot of health problems, because then their bodies are not functioning the way it's supposed to be. Then they come into procedures now. No, I need to go to this doctor's appointment, do that. There's anti-aging. I don't want wrinkles. I want my hair
Hormone
to be
replacement.
perfect. Yes, hormones replacements. I
Hormone
want to
enhancement.
Yeah, and they want to say, I want to look the way I looked when I was 30. And it's like, don't you mature? Don't you change? Don't you grow? But she adds all of that stress unnecessarily, because often I ask myself, when you get that cosmetic surgery, do you really want it, or is it because everybody else is doing it? Because you don't know the reason of someone else doing it. It might be medical. It might be that they really needed it. The diploma that you're getting, do you really need it, or you just want to be that person to say, I have my 10th degree in this? And it stresses them so much that you hear them saying, I don't have time for anything. Like, the whole world is on my shoulders. Like, no, darling, you put the world on your shoulders.
That's a reality you have to face.
Yes, and they'll often say, it's hard. I can't do motherhood. I can't be the one that the breadwinner. I can't be the friend to everybody that's there for people. But you're the one that put yourself in that position that you want to be providing for your whole family. Maybe you have brothers, you have siblings that they could be, but you might be doing it unintentionally because you think, no, I'm the one that's working. I have the highest salary. So at home, when there's going to be a renovation, Precious steps in. Precious will take care of everything. Then along the way, who's getting stressed? I'm the one getting stressed. Like, nobody's helping, but you were the one that put that on. So a lot of them, they will find themselves very stressed and very unhappy, and it even leads to depression because a lot of them are very depressed and they live on medication, antidepressants. They need medications to sleep. They need medication to stay awake. So it's an unending cycle of just stress and torment.
You might be thinking that because we are Christians, we are here battering the alpha women. As a matter of fact, we as women had our time and opportunity, and we grabbed that opportunity because we don't believe in a society that would be a slavery to women. We also want to develop, to grow, to have our contribution to society. But there is a misperception that as Christians, we don't believe in women empowerment. And I will surprise you, because the first one who has empowered women in the Old Testament was God himself. In the New Testament was Jesus Christ. Did you know that? For the month of August, we have proposed a quiz of important women in the Bible. And just after our break, we are going to explore the traits of an alpha female in the Bible appointed by God. So let me give you this break and see if you get it right. Who is our woman of the Bible, our case study for today? We are going to be right back and explore the life of that alpha female. Stay with us.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. The further you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can't deny me, you can't decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my hope was gone. Oh no, there's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Your lies will come tumbling down. Deny my place and time. You squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly it'll blind you. Because there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my hope was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Brothers and sisters,
Welcome back. This one was very easy. I'm sure you got it right. The woman of the Bible today, we are going to explore her traits and learn lessons. It is
Deborah.
Deborah, and in Hebrew it means bee. And when we think about a bee, I think we can relate to this person we are going to explore. As I said, empowerment came from God. So when you go to the book of Judges, chapter 4 and 5, you're going to see the story of Deborah and the people of Israel, of which we are going to explore a little bit in several verses when we look at the traits of this woman. But first of all, let us understand she was appointed by God to be a prophetess and a judge over Israel. In times where only men would have a word, only men would sit and counsel the people, God himself appointed her to take care of a nation that had been terribly invaded, enslaved by the Canaanites. So when we talk about being a prophetess, we need to understand she was the one who would convey the will of God to the nation. And as a judge, she would have the decision, the power to say, do this, do that to the nation. Today we get very happy when we see female prime ministers, female presidents, female CEOs having authority. She was the president of the nation in those days. Interesting to know why God chose her among so many men. And by the way, she was a family person. She was a married woman to a man called Lapidoth. We don't know much about him, but I'm sure that he was someone of influence so that his wife would also earn the respect of the men in Israel. And God chose her because of her faith, her wisdom, her fairness, and her obedience to the Lord. So now let us compare this alpha woman chosen by God in her traits and see if we can spot the same behavior in the alpha women of today. The first one we register in Judges 4, verse 1 to 4, and she was trusted. Imagine that a woman, and we're talking about 3,000 years ago, she is raised to be the president of this nation. And she had to say, do, don't do. Decide like this, decide like that. We would see that people would turn to her, would seek for her counseling, so that she would spend days under a tree counseling the people, deciding on the disputes of the people. They were not afraid of her. Rather, they respected her for her contribution.
And today we see the quite opposite, because that's where it came from. As we're saying, it's admirable that she took care of the nation. She was, we can say today, the first female president that we have registered in the Bible. However, with the boss babe today, she's feared. People are afraid of her. She's not trusted. As much as they think they can be trusted, maybe managerial and the president of the company administratively trust you, but with the lives of those people that are in the company and their well-being, they don't, because they're afraid that if they come and tell you, we even mentioned it earlier, that I'm not okay, things are not going well at home, that's why I'm not performing well, she will be like, suck it up, buttercup, do something about it. You need to work hard. I'm a woman as well. You need to know that I am here to run what needs to be run. But no one is actually saying they will not work efficiently. They're just explaining the issue. And I'm thinking of her being a judge. She had to sit there hearing people's concerns, hearing both sides, and coming with a decision that did not serve her, but something that was best for both parties that were there in dispute or whatever the issue is. But with the alpha female and the boss babe of today, no, it's about what's going to serve her more. So it's almost like she's in a chess game. How is she going to benefit from that thing? So if it means I need to fire Silmara, because if she goes and says that, no, I was going through marital problems, but I still made it, they might consider her more trustworthy than I am. So what am I going to do? She's a threat. I'm taking her out. But I don't see Deborah having done that. Even if there were other females then, I believe, as you said, she was a family woman. So she was also bringing that ground on how to judge things. But the one of today, sadly, she doesn't have a family, she doesn't have friends. So whatever she judges on is mostly on her opinion, her perspective, and no one else's.
The second trait, she served with wisdom and knowledge. We see that in verse 5. So she was not influenced or intimidated by the behaviors of others. She always would seek for God's direction on the best way. And as we were talking about judging people, of course, there were those who were the winners of the cause and the one who would lose. And she would have to deal with both people, both cases. But she was not intimidated by the many men who could be in her place. They were not. God appointed her. So she used of wisdom and understanding to conduct herself in that. Is this what we see in alpha females today?
Today, unfortunately, no. Most of the time, we see the influence on the other side. So women know, and intuitively, naturally, they know what is easier for them to do, what is natural for them to do. But because of the trends, in media, social media, everywhere, everyone's saying, no, as a 21st century woman, you have to be strong, you have to be bossy, you have to achieve, you cannot submit. Even those who know God's principles, as Deborah would judge according to what is right before God. So even those who know what is right today, they are afraid to live out the truth that they know to be. They are afraid to be perhaps like the mother who raised them, the grandmother, the values that they saw in their mothers or in their grandmothers. They would rather be popular with the crowd, be influenced by what is popular outside, instead of doing what they know will actually benefit them and benefit their families. I remember watching a talk show from the US, and there's a young lady on that show who is married to a man who is a gospel musician. I'm not sure if he's also a pastor or not, but is a gospel musician. And they spoke about submission. And as you can imagine, when one lady said she wants to submit to her husband, all of them thought someone had killed someone had sworn at them. Everyone was opposed to the idea of this woman who is successful in her own right, actually saying when she gets married, she's going to submit to her husband. And for me, it was so sad and so cringeworthy, but also being someone who was also influenced in the past by this idea of feminism and woman development. She spoke on international TV about how her husband, who's a gospel artist and possibly a pastor, no, the Bible is old-fashioned. Things need to be adapted to today's times. And you know what? I submit to my husband, but he also submits to me. When she said that, he also submits to me, I thought to myself, do you understand what you've just said? You have just emasculated your husband in front of the world, who is, I think, 13 years your senior. You have told us that you, being as young as you are in your 30s, this 40-something or 50-something-year-old man is submitting to you. He is supposedly a Christian. There are many other men who possibly respect him. And now you are telling them, for the sake of television, for the sake of being cool, for the sake of not seen as backward, you are telling us that your husband submits to you. It made no sense to me. That how does she do that? But it's the influence, the environment that she was in. And I think there are many
It lacked the wisdom of God.
She lacked the wisdom of God because it sounded cool, but when a person thinks about what that means, you have literally disrespected.
It sounds a lie.
Either you're lying or you're disrespecting your husband, and you're telling us that you can disrespect him and he will actually go along with it. So I think for today, when we look at Deborah, her good qualities, each woman who's out there and possibly thinking that some of these things that we're mentioning, they may be in her, check and see, how you can change, because it's not a matter of you are that way, you are set that way. You can change once you realize that, okay, maybe that doesn't work for me. Yes, it's good for me to I don't know, to learn new things, because yes, the world is changing, but how far are you taking it? And those things that are changing, are they actually benefiting you, or you are actually hurting yourself?
Now, she supported the people of God, verse 6. So she did not impose respect, but she empathized. And that is a great characteristic that I am afraid without God, without the Holy Spirit, we are not able to do in a world that we only think about ourselves now, our best ways of living, our benefit. But a woman in those days, she put everything aside so that she could sit down, listen to the causes of the people, understand both sides, give a fair judgment.
And today we see with alpha women that they are really not doing that. They are not empathetic at all. They think about themselves. They put themselves first. They are self-serving. If it doesn't serve them, if it doesn't work for them, then they are not going to do it. They are not, and that's why a lot of alpha females, as I said, they have very small circles. They don't have friends at all, if any. So the thing is, they are not able to empathize with people. They are not able to put themselves in other people's shoes, to feel the pain of other people. And there's a saying that says alpha women do not run in packs, meaning that they run alone. They don't have time to sympathize with people. They don't have time to listen to people. They don't have time for people at all. It's all about them. So we see how it's the opposite right now. Deborah was the opposite, but alpha females today, it's just all about them.
The fourth one, we're giving you characteristics for you to tick the box. Do I have those precious characteristics of an alpha female appointed by God? The fourth one, she was courageous. She had to go to war. You read it in verse 8. However, she was with men that were supposed to lead the army. And he said to her, Barak, if you don't go, I won't go to war. And a woman in those days, she said, so we are going to go to war. Her courage would not come from herself, from her instincts, from what she had learned at varsity. She was courageous because that would come from God.
She was called to the war. It was she didn't offer herself. The alpha woman, they offered themselves for everything. They tried to be all over the place. So Deborah was requested, so much respected, so much important. People would see her. She didn't feel important and said, if I don't go, everything will not. No, the king told her, you need to go with us. And she was humble to tell the king that she would go, but could have some side effects, but she would go because she would respect the will of God above all. So in nowadays, the women, they want to be all over the place. They get to be stressed because they were not called for that position, for that moment. And sometimes people, they have to say, Tammy, but you do need to come because we are fine. But no, she needs to be there. Her image and what people are going to say about her. Deborah, we see she was on the dependence of God. Wherever God would send her, because she was a woman. Remember, we are still talking about a woman. Deborah was a woman. Probably she was afraid because, imagine, a woman would not go to the war, but she fulfilled her mission in that time. So the stress and the fear, she put everything, I believe, in the hands of God, and she went. So that makes us different when we are able to be like Deborah and not like the women of today. They put themselves there in that position, and now what should I do? Then the stress come, and now I left my kids behind, and now my job, and then everything is crumbled down because she just offered herself for everything.
The next one is very interesting, and people interpret in a very wrong way. She was very direct. That we can notice in verse 9 when she says, "So it will be known that the victory came through the hands of a woman." So she was very direct. But the interesting point, she was upholding God's principles. Hey guys, it should not be like this. God purposed to give the victory to you, commander, king, the man who's leading Israel. She posted that warning. She was direct, but they realized they needed her at war. How an alpha female would work in that regard? She would say she's very direct, but is it only being direct?
I think there's a difference. There's a fine line between being direct and being rude, because today they're very rude, because she didn't say you are weak. If you were strong, you would be in my position. If the men of this place were not afraid. No, she didn't bring out any of that. She was just reminding them. But today, the alpha female, she is number one to bring out people's weaknesses, people's failures, people's shortcomings. And in a way, when she's told, okay, you're being insensitive, she's going to say, no, the problem is you don't want people to tell you the truth. I am telling you my truth. My truth, they can't be my truth. Whenever a person says my truth, I always think, but can't we just stick to the truth and not your truth? Because then if you're coming with your truth, someone else has to come with theirs. And you'll hear them saying, no, I was raised to be strong. I was raised to be confident and to speak my mind. But we don't need to know, because then if you're speaking your mind, it means anything that just pops up, you say it. But I don't think, even when she said that, we know sometimes when we read the Bible, we forget to think of the scenery, what was going on, what was the time. I don't think she said it to all, like in front of all the men. No, it was probably in that private council, and she was saying it in a respectful manner. But today, Miss Marcia, they don't just stop at being direct face to face. Oh no, they go online and they let everybody know like who
And
you
the
are.
vlogs, the blogs,
Yes.
the videos, the lives,
Yes, it's even almost so funny.
the reels.
Yeah, it was so strange because someone even said how even women deal today with breakups. They are rude about it, because she first wipes the person off all of their posts. Then she comes, I am strong, I am confident, I am fine. Then comes the inspirational quote, I will be okay. And someone even made a joke and said, then you start reading the indirect messages. This is how we know something's happening. No, the wind is not the wind, because the wind comes as a disrespectful wind and you have to put the wind in its place. And when you are reading it, it's like, what did the wind do? But she's saying it to that person and she's being rude. And the people that know what's happening can actually see that you're rude. You're not being direct, because what needs to be between the two of you needs to be between the two of you. And I don't think back then everybody knew of what she said. It was only the council that had to know of that. We only know of it today because of the Bible. But then today, the whole world needs to be involved and know how rude and disrespectful you are.
2 more to go, and one that I love particularly. But let us address first, she was humble. Judges 5, verse 3. She was not arrogant and bossy. She was direct, she brought about what was to come, but she was very humble also to understand her role, her place given by God. So she could not cross the line and now become the bossy one to dictate what everyone else would do and say.
And that's the thing. Many people confuse being humble with being weak. As I said before, only a strong woman can be humble, because you know the power that you have. You know the strength that you have. You know that if you are not humble, you could destroy everything. You know it, but you choose. It's a choice that you make to submit, to be humble, to humble yourself in front of people that you feel like maybe they might be wanting to take your power. That gives you more power. Being humble in that situation, when you could stand your ground and be strong and be rude and be mean, but then you choose to lower yourself, you choose to be in your position and allow God to fight for you, that is the most powerful thing that any woman can do. However, with alpha women, they don't know the word humbleness. They don't want, they think that if they are humble, then everybody will walk on top of them and they will do whatever they want with them. So it is humility is a characteristic that only the strong people can possess, because they know their power, but they choose to not use their power, but to use it in the right moment, at the right time, with the right people. So in this case, she had to be humble. It was not a time for her to show her power, or to parade her power, but it was a time for her to be humble, and that's why she's really admired.
And I think she understood quite well it was not her strength, her wisdom, her power, her authority. Those who are constituted by God, they understand the meaning of humbleness, because they know it's not their own ability, it's God's authority in them. When we have an authority that is not humble, it means that authority did not understand that his power, his influence, his position, his decision is not for his own sake, but it's to serve God. The last one that I love the most, she was a matriarch. So we complain today so much, our society is a patriarch. But she, as we read in verse 4, she was a mother to Israel. She was recognized. The Israelites, the nation, became their extended family. She lived for them. She cared for them. She thought about their needs, their insecurities. Even when she said, so if I need to go to war, I will, it was understanding the need of that army, those young chaps, the men who were there, and of course, the responsibility she had towards their families and to Israel. And that is beautiful. And is one of the things that I think we are missing most today, because people always marry more their career, their money, their position, rather than being family, not only to my husband and my children, but to have that caring spirit towards everyone that God is bringing to us. You might be a mother in your workplace. You might be a mother in your school. You might be a sister to someone. That is the nature to care for others that she had. A woman in those days. No one saw an example before. She was the first one. She was the first president. She still had to cope with her family, her husband, counsel Israel, and convey two responsibilities, prophetess and judge, and still a soldier. I forgot about that. She went to war. And she was caring in every way. So when we talk about today being an alpha female, we wanted to give to you the two examples. You have the alpha females you see out there through social media, and maybe your mindset is already prepared to be the next boss baby. But an alpha female, according to the will, to the choice, and to the wisdom of God. We just wanted to prove to you that God wants to emancipate women. He didn't create women to be less. He didn't create women to be small. He created women to excel in their potential. However, sometimes we change the focus of our potential and our strength to live according to standards that are out there. Truth is, you can say, I'm happy like that. Only you and God knows. Only your pillow at night, the void you have inside. You can exceed. You can be top of the charts. You can have a beautiful testimony. You can do well in everything you purpose. Just do it according to God's ways. Just do it as Deborah did, with the understanding and dependence from God. God does not want or does not look at us as inferiors. He looks at us at the same level as men, each one of us with different roles, different responsibilities, different natures. So we should get our strength and make stronger, and make of our weaknesses our strongholds. And that is to know that God can make us to live up to our full potential within His will and His way, like Deborah did. And listen, she was the first female president leading a nation, not a small business, not a company, not a department, a nation in times of war. And her success came from God. God wants the same for you and for me. So that you can have the understanding of our today's topic, we are going to pray for you right now. Maybe you went through the straits of Deborah and you found more similarity with the alpha females of today rather than the alpha female of the Bible. And you want to change because you see you are investing much, but you're not happy. God wants to make you happy. He wants to be the source of your success. Tumi, would you pray for us, please?
My Lord and my Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity that you gave through this topic. You give opportunities every day, opportunities for us to learn, opportunities for us to reflect, opportunities for us to change and grow. And I believe that this one is one that many who may have found their own alpha ways in through this topic will be able to grab with both hands and make the necessary change, not to please anyone, but, my Lord, to glorify you. My Father, I ask you that you inspire in the minds, give understanding, make it clear that this is not an attack on anyone. This is not a way to say women need to not be able to achieve anything. If anything, this has proven that you trust women with great responsibility. You have shown through the example of Deborah that there is so much that we are capable of doing. However, we need to search within ourselves, each person to decide today whether they want to be an alpha female who is within your will, or they want to be the alpha female of this world who wants everything to be according to their own will, for them to be known, for them to be famous, for them to be feared. If that is what anyone chooses, my Lord, then we know that there will be no fulfillment at the end of their lives. There will be no pleasure in the life that they live. So I ask you, Lord, that you may inspire the minds of the viewers today, those who may be listening on the radio, or those who will even hear about this topic from someone else, for each person to look within themselves. And as you gave me an opportunity one day, a few years ago, just as a thought in my mind to say, the influence is not the one that was pleasing you, for this person to accept this opportunity and also make the necessary changes. Because when you inspire us to change, it's because you want us to glorify you, and you will be there to walk us through that change, that transformation that you want us to go through. So I ask you, Lord, that you bless everyone who viewed this program today, who listened to this program, who's going to hear about it, my Lord. May you inspire them and clarify in their minds that the noise of the world will not be louder than the message that you gave today. Raise Deborahs, my Lord, in this country, all over the world, anywhere where someone is listening. Raise a Deborah, my Lord, within them, that your name may be glorified. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. So become an alpha female appointed by God today. I am very excited about next week's show. Very. Because we spoke many times on the repercussions of being daughters of single mothers, exception for Precious. But here you have the four of us with different stories, different backgrounds. But there is something we never did. We never asked them how it was like, their feelings, their pain, their struggles. And next week, this is exactly what we're going to do. We are going to talk a little bit about our strong single mothers. So we hope to have you back. If you are a single mother, if you're daughter of a single mother, if you know a single mother, let us be together and reflect about the struggles and the joys of being single mother. We never asked them, but we will. Next week, Friday, 3 p.m. Until then, God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Dear Mom, you did it. I don't know how, but you turned the worst moments into the greatest. You seasoned life with love, courage, and giggles in between. And shown me that superheroes do exist. I know you always gave your best, but there's something I never asked you, and now is the time. Single moms, this show is especially for you. Friday, 3 p.m.